Did you drive behind a tractor trailer full of logs today for 10 minutes just to feel something? Perfect. Welcome to States Against Humanity, the March Madness tournament where we, a group of trauma bonded strangers who can't stop thinking about that second bridesmaid, come together to determine which state is worse for humanity. Today, we will be looking at the matchup of number 2 seed Tennessee and number 3 seed Kentucky. I am your host, Casey, and I miss the person I was before this tournament started. The topic today is education. Let's start with one of my most hated education initiatives and one of my most hated governors in this country, Bill Lee, who just signed a new voucher program bill for the state of Tennessee. For those that are new or don't know, I used to teach in public school. I come from a long line of teachers, and I can tell you that almost always, almost exclusively, voucher programs are not a help to society at large. They are helpful to people who want to send their kids to private school and want to get funds for that private school. Think of voucher programs in the same vein as trickle-down economics, right? You're promised a lot of big things, but they never quite manifest. Proponents of vouchers insist that they make schools better because it creates competition. It allows students to go to schools that are more suited for them because the parents are subsidized, the educational costs. But in reality, what it does is it just takes money away from public schools. That's the end of it. People who want to go to private, or in the case of the Bible Belt, religious schools that don't have as much oversight in curriculum, they can do that because they now have basically a coupon for that. And the public school loses those dollars and loses that money to buy things for that school to support the students that are going to go there that can't afford to go to private school. Oh, but Casey, the vouchers are giving them money so they can go to private school. That's cute. It's only $7,000. Most private school tuition is going to be more than that. And private schools can get really tricky, like increasing the prices, their tuition rates, so that people can't afford to go to these private schools with that money anyway. Now, the problem for Tennessee and many other schools like Tennessee that are struggling in terms of funding their public schools is that these voucher programs will take that money away on top of the struggle they're going to face if Donald Trump somehow managed to dismantle the Department of Education and the funding that they receive from the federal government, which in the state of Tennessee equals out to $3.6 billion. Hey, Bill Lee, where are you going to find that money? Because he's a big proponent of Trump and the dismantling of the Department of Education. He's all for it. So I would love to hear from Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee. What do you plan to do to subsidize the loss of funds from the Department of Education, from the federal government? And what do you plan to do to subsidize the loss of funds from those students that decide to utilize the voucher program and go to private and parochial schools? Where's all the money coming from? The answer is either taxpayers paying more or your schools failing more, which is interesting because your state already consistently ranks in the lowest 15 states for education in this country. That's with current funding levels. Now, the Democrats, for their part, did try their best to try to curb this voucher bill in some way, shape, or form. They tried to make as many requirements as possible of this voucher program, like, I don't know, for instance, making sure that the teachers in the private schools have a certification. Kind of seems like that should be a necessity. They also tried to demand that the private school students have to meet the same kind of testing standards as the public school students, but the Republicans were like, no. And it couldn't even get out of subcommittee. Which is weird because I thought that the Republicans were all about accountability. So aren't the standardized tests holding the voucher program accountable? I'm curious why you want to let people spend money, but you don't want to make sure that that money is being utilized correctly. I'm curious why that is. Here are the states in the U.S. that are already using the voucher system or plan to in the next year or two. Do you notice a pattern with any of these states? Also, if you're curious why there aren't more southern states introducing voucher models, that's because in some states, they've been voted down because they don't have the money to pay for it. Not because they don't want to do it, but because they haven't figured out how to pay for it yet. Oh, like for instance, Kentucky, that voted on Amendment 2 that would allow public funds to be spent on private schools. And thankfully, Kentucky voters were like, no, no thank you to that. That was like a hard pass, which makes sense considering the fact that they're already so short on K-12 funding in Kentucky. The education commissioner's like, hey, y'all, we're about to be down $40 million. And for his part, Governor Andy Beshear, who's like the savior in the story, because he's like the only Democrat and person that's actually fighting for public education in this scenario. He's like, here's $14.7 million. Not sure what we're going to do when the Department of Education folds, because we rely on those dollars. So I, Governor Beshear, vehemently oppose that plan by Donald Trump. Listen, he's the only thing that's holding this state together, because the House Bill 4 tried to target DEI programs in Kentucky's higher education. It passed, and Governor Beshear's like, F that, I'm going to veto it to hell. Kentucky's legislature has been trying to pass this anti-DEI initiative for quite a while. And unfortunately, because they have the majority, a significant majority, they're going to override his veto. The bill's sponsor, who looks exactly the way you think she might, is Kentucky State Representative Jennifer Decker from Waddy. I don't know how to say that. She basically said, I'm a racist. I just TLDR'd it for you. But she's very opposed to higher universities and just educational institutions in general promoting diversity, because she blends in with that hay, and so should everyone else. Anyway, here's her contact information. I think you should probably let her know how you feel about the House Bill 4 in Kentucky. Look, she's even got an email address there. It makes it pretty easy for everyone. Very accessible. Thanks, Kentucky. But why stop with higher education? BOLO, the bill that's going to take it out of everything, K-12 schools and government agencies. The difficult task is upon you. The time has come for you to choose which state is worse for humanity. Is it number 2 seed Tennessee, or is it number 3 seed Kentucky? Go ahead and decide. Click, select. Here, I can't say the word VOTE. They will not show that. They're not going to show this anyway. It's too long. So anyway, for those of you that are here, hi. I will see you next time when we talk about Mississippi and Iowa. Bye.